Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the class on coordination chemistry. In this class, we will discuss crystal field theory. Before to that, we need to know the shape of d orbitals. As we know, there are 5 d orbitals. They are dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square, y square, dz square. When we look at the structure of these d orbitals, for example, if it is x-axis and it is y-axis, what is dxy? Dxy, of course, d orbitals are having double dumbbell shape, double dumbbell shape. Dxy orbital is distributed between x and y axis. These this d orbital, it is distributed in between x and y axis. So this is x and y plus x plus y. This is between minus x and plus y. This is between minus x and minus y. This is between plus x and minus y. So the dxy orbital is distributed in between the axis. Dxy orbital is distributed in between the axis. Similarly, all the dxy, dyz and dzx, they are distributed in between the axis. So if you want to draw the other d orbitals, you just change the names. This is y axis, this is z axis. Then what is dyz? Dyz will be distributed between y orbital and z orbital. Y orbital and z orbital. It is the same thing with dzx also. Just change the name of the axis. Now, what is dx square y square orbital? Dx square y square orbital is distributed along the axis, x-axis, y-axis. Dx square y square is distributed along the axis, along the x direction, along the y direction. So the dx square y square orbital is distributed along the axis. Dxy, dyz, dzx, they are distributed in between the axis, whereas dx square y square and dz square is also distributed along the axis. So in this case, dz square, it is distributed only in the z direction, dz square orbital, and dx and dy x direction and y direction, it does not have any orbital, so it looks like a donut. This is like a donut shape, so it will be like a donut shape. So among the 5d orbitals, the 3d orbitals dxy, dyz and dzx, they are distributed in between the axis, whereas the other 2 orbitals dx square y square and dz square, they are distributed along the axis. Please take the notes. Now we will discuss about crystal field theory. In short, we call it as CFT. Crystal field theory was actually proposed by Bethe and Van Vleck. Crystal field theory is very, very important, and it is highly successful in explaining the structure, properties of complexes. So as far as complexes is concerned, the best suitable theory to explain the bonding or structure or properties is the crystal field theory. So when we study coordination complexes, crystal field theory is most important. Now, when we look at the postulates, complexes will form when central metal ion attracts ligands electrostatically. Of course, we know that complexes, in the complexes, we will have bond between metal and ligands. So these metals which are electropositive and ligands which will have a pair of electrons are negatively charged. So there will be an electrostatic attraction between the metal ion and the ligands. Ligands are regarded as the negative point charges. If they are having negative charge, then they are regarded as negative point charges or point dipoles. When neutral ligands are there, we call them as a point dipoles in the case of neutral ligands. The negative end of dipole in the molecule is directed towards the metal ion because metal ion is electropositive. In the dipole of a neutral ligand, the negative end will be attracted or will be nearer to the metal ion. Positive dipole, positive pole will be away from the metal ion. Now, the attractions between the central metal atom and the ligands in the complex is considered to be purely electrostatic. So, according to CFT, the bonding between metal and ligands is purely electrostatic, but it is not 100% ionic. When we say it is electrostatic attraction, it should be ionic bonding, but here it is not ionic bonding. So the interactions are ion-ion interactions. When metal is positively charged, ligands are negatively charged, we call it as ion-ion interactions. If a ligand is neutral, then we call it as ion dipole attractions. There is no interaction between metal orbitals and ligand orbitals. This is also very important. Though the bonding involves orbitals, but there is no interaction between metal orbitals and the ligand orbitals. They play very less role in the formation of complex. The d orbitals on the metal are degenerate. What is degenerate? Degenerate means which are having same energy. There are 5 d orbitals in the pure metal atom or pure metal ion. All the 5 d orbitals are having same energy. All the 5 d orbitals will have same energy. So that is why the d orbitals on the metal are degenerate. However, when a complex is formed, the ligands destroy the degeneracy. So in the complex, the degeneracy of the 5 d orbitals will be destroyed, and this is called crystal field splitting. The ligands, when they approach central metal ion, they will destroy the degeneracy of the 5 d orbitals. That means the d orbitals will be split into different categories. So that is what is called crystal field splitting. Crystal field splitting is a very, very important concept in case of coordination complexes. The number of ligands and their arrangement around the central metal ion will determine the crystal field splitting. So in the complex, when there is a bond between metal and ligands, the degenerate d orbitals will be split into different categories, which is called crystal field splitting. The crystal field splitting is governed by the ligands, the number of ligands and their arrangement, how they are approaching the central metal ion. So that will determine the crystal field splitting. The electrons on the central metal are under repulsive forces from those on ligands. Of course, metal will have some electrons, ligands will have some electrons. When the ligands are approaching central metal atom or ion to make the bonds. The electrons on the central metal and the electrons on the ligand, because both are having same negative charge, they will have repulsive forces between them. Thus, the electrons occupy the d orbitals away from the direction of approach of ligands. This is additional term. The electrons occupy the d orbitals away from the direction of approach of ligands. These are the most important postulates of crystal field splitting. What is crystal field splitting? As we know, all the 5d orbitals in a metal ion are degenerate. All the 5d orbitals will have the same energy. But in case of a hypothetical spherical field, that means when the ligands are approaching the metal uniformly in all directions in a spherical field, as you know the shape of a sphere, like a ball. Imagine a ball, the surface is ligands, and at the center of the ball, at the center of the sphere, metal ion is there. So when ligands are approaching the metal in a hypothetical spherical field, of course it is a hypothetical case, because in reality this spherical field will never exist. So in a hypothetical spherical field, all the 5d orbitals will be raised in energy relative to the free ion. When there is a spherical ligand field approaching the central metal ion, then what happens? The electrons on the metal and the electrons on the ligand, they will have repulsions. Because of that repulsions, their energy will increase. Their energy will increase. Now, if the lobes of dx square y square and dz square point along the axis xyz, the lobes of dxy, dyz and dzx point in between the axis. This is very, very important point. Why? When the ligands approach along the axis, then the energies of dx square y square and dz square will increase. When the ligands are approaching along the axis, because these two orbitals are pointing along the axis, they will experience greater repulsions. So their energies will increase. When there is an increase in energy, there will be a decrease in energy. And when the ligands approach in between the axis, the energies of dxy, dyz and dzx will increase. Why? Because dxy, dyz and dzx point in between the axis. So if the ligands are approaching the metal ion in between the axis, then these three orbitals will experience greater repulsion. So they will increase their energy. These two will decrease their energy. But if the ligands are approaching along the axis, these two will experience greater repulsion. So their energies will increase. These three orbitals will decrease their energy. So this is how a crystal field splitting occurs in a complex. Yeah. When there is no ligands, when there is no ligands, this is d orbitals, which we call it as free d orbitals. They are degenerate, that means they have same energy. When there is a hypothetical spherical field, what happens? All these d orbitals will experience repulsions, so their energy will increase. Along the y-axis, it is energy. So without ligands, they are having low energy. With the hypothetical spherical field, they are having very high energy. Now, in order to explain the crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes, first we will look at the shape of octahedral complex. Octahedral complexes have 6 ligands. Octahedral complexes have 6 ligands. 4 ligands are in the plane. It will have square shape. 4 ligands are in the plane, it will have square shape. One ligand will be above the plane, one ligand will be below the plane. So this is the octahedral shape. This is the octahedral shape. Now we will try to imagine orbitals, x orbital, axis, x axis, y axis and z axis in this molecule. As we know, all the axes are perpendicular to each other. That means they will have 90 degrees bond angle. When we try to apply the axis, or when we try to imagine the axis in octahedral complexes, of course we know, because these 4 ligands are in the plane, they will have a bond angle of 90 degrees. And out of the plane, this will also have a bond angle of 90 degrees. That means all the bond angles in a octahedral geometry is 90 degrees. That means this line and this line both are perpendicular to each other. At metal central, these two axes are perpendicular to each other. At the same time, if you take a line along this is also perpendicular to each other. So when we imagine x-axis along this direction, y-axis along this direction, z-axis along this direction, right? Because we have 90 degrees angle between x and y axis, as well as x and z axis, or x and y axis. X and y axis are in the plane, z axis is out of the plane. Now you see, in an octahedral geometry, all the ligands are approaching the metal along the axis. All the ligands are approaching the metal along the axis. In octahedral complexes, ligands approach the central metal ion along the axis, and hence the energies of dx square, y square and dz square orbitals will increase more than the other 3 d orbitals, right? Here all the ligands are approaching the metal along the axis. Now what are the orbitals along the axis? These two, dx square y square orbital and dz square orbital. These two orbitals are oriented along the axis. So they will experience greater repulsion. So they will increase their energy. Other 3, that means dxy, dyz and dzx, they will decrease their energy. So in an octahedral complex, the d orbitals are split into 2 categories, split into 2 groups. In an octahedral complex, the d orbitals are split into 2 groups. How? One with lower energy, that is dxy, dyz, dzx. These 3 orbitals having lower energy group, and dx square, y square, dz square higher energy group. The dxy, dyz and dzx group is called as T2G group. dx square, y square and dz square group is called as EG group. What is T2 and E? T is a spectroscopic term which represents 3 orbitals, So here we have 3 orbitals which we call it as a triply degenerate. So that is why we are using this symbol T to G. G represents symmetry. Gerade. G means gerade. Gerade means symmetry. U means ungerade. Ungerade means unsymmetric. If there is a symmetry, we give the symbol G. If there is no symmetry, we give the symbol U. Okay. So E, what is E? E means doubly degenerate. E means doubly degenerate. sorry, E means it is a spectroscopic term used to represent two. Small e is a spectroscopic term used to represent two. So here we have two orbitals, dx square y square orbital and dz square orbital. So that is why it is given Eg. Because these orbitals are symmetry, we will give G suffix. So T2G, T suffix T2G, E symbol E suffix G. E means doubly degenerate, T means triply degenerate. So in case of an octahedral complex, what is happening? The ligands are approaching the metal along the axis. So the orbitals dx square, y square and dz square, which are distributed along the axis, they will experience greater repulsion. Because of that, they will increase their energy. The other three orbitals, they are distributed in between, so they don't have repulsions, so they will decrease their energy. So in an octahedral complex, the 5d orbitals are split into two categories: lower energy T2G and higher energy EG category. So a metal ion, the 5d orbitals are degenerate. All the five metal ions are degenerate. So along the y-axis we have energy. Right. When there is a hypothetical spherical field, that means ligands are approaching the metal like a sphere, then all the d orbitals will experience same repulsion. All the d orbitals will experience same repulsion. Because of the repulsions, we say their energy will increase. This what we call it as hypothetical spherical field. Hypothetical spherical field. Because in reality, there will be no such spherical field. Now, in octahedral complexes, what is happening? The ligands are approaching along the axis. Because of that, the Eg orbitals are increasing their energy. The T2G orbitals are decreasing their energy. Three orbitals will decrease their energy. Two orbitals will increase their energy. So out of the five d orbitals, three orbitals will decrease their energy. Two d orbitals will increase their energy. These are called T2G orbitals. These are called EG orbitals. T2G orbitals are stabilized because they don't have repulsions, whereas EG orbitals are destabilized because they have repulsion. That is why their energy is increasing. So T2G orbitals are having lower energy, EG orbitals are having higher energy. Now this mean energy level, it is called barycenter. This mean energy level is called as barycenter. You can clearly see these three orbitals are decreasing, stabilizing the same amount as EG orbitals. Same amount as EG orbitals. Because there are three, there will be less distance. Because there are two, there will be high distance. Now the energy difference between T2G and EG orbitals is called as band gap or energy gap. The energy difference between T2G and EG orbitals is called energy gap. This is represented by delta. Energy gap is represented by delta. In octahedral complexes, we can add this suffix O. O represents octahedral. So the energy difference between T2G orbitals and EG orbitals is called as energy gap or delta naught or 10 dq. 10 dq. This delta naught is called as crystal field splitting energy. ligand field splitting parameter. So this delta naught will determine how much splitting is there because of ligands. Now, how much T2G orbitals are stabilized? They are stabilized. There are a total of 5, and they are stabilized an equal amount of 2 are destabilized, so this is stabilized 2 out of 5. Because they are stabilized, we can say they have decreased their energy, so we will add minus sign. If you don't add minus sign, what we need to say, they are stabilized an amount of 2 by 5 delta naught. Total value is delta naught. They are stabilized by 2 by 5 delta naught. If you don't want to say stabilized or unstabilized, you just add minus sign. Minus sign represents decrease in energy, or simply minus 0.4 delta naught, minus 0.4 delta naught. Now, how much EG orbitals are destabilized? They are destabilized an amount which is equal to 3 out of 5 orbitals. it, these 3 orbitals are stabilized, so same amount they are destabilized, so they are destabilized 3 out of 5. Here they have increased their energy, so if you don't add destabilized, you just add plus sign, 3 by 5 of delta naught, or we can say plus 0.6 delta naught, 0.6 delta naught. So this is what is called crystal field splitting. This is known as crystal field splitting.